Hi, welcome to my patio. My name is Jim Sutton and I'm the Associate Director of Display Design at Longwood Gardens. Today I'm going to share with you something that I do every year, and that is bringing my garden indoors. How do you bring houseplants inside so you can enjoy them in the winter time? So as you know, the weather's changing and fall is coming. So I love container gardening, as you can tell. I put a lot of things in pots and grow them out this summer. And then come this time of year, I'm always struggling with what to bring inside and how to bring it inside. So I'm going to show you some techniques that I've developed over the years and some things I think work really well for bringing your plants inside. First off, select the plants you want to bring inside. And when you go to bring a plant indoors, take time to clean it up. Remove any damaged foliage, anything that's bad on it. You're also going to look at the plant and check it over for bugs. See if it has any bugs on it. If it does, don't be afraid to give your plant a good wash to get rid of those insects. Also, the other part people often forget is clean the pot. These pots have a lot of debris on them. They've been outside all summer, and there may even be insects on them as well. So you can see all the debris you can get off your pot. So clean your pot, clean your plant, then give it a really good rinse, and then find a container to put it in. I grow a lot of things in plastic, and I don't like the look of plastic inside of my house. So sometimes you can take them and just put them in a nice basket or pot and bring them in that way. Now this has a plastic liner in it, and you're going to want to make sure that your plants have liners, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But you can see how much nicer this looks now to bring inside. And I will give you another pointer, is that when you bring your plants inside, put them in the bright, sunniest spots you have. Light indoors is never intense as it is outside during the summertime, and we're also going into a time of year where the sunlight is a little less intense. So you want to give them as much light as you possibly can indoors. You can also drastically change the look of your plant just by the container you put it in. This is a Christmas cactus. It'll look nice in this black pot. It's a black pot, and I put it inside of another plastic black pot. This way it doesn't leave watermarks anywhere, and I don't have to worry about it when I water it, water going everywhere. But you can also see how much nicer and fancier it looks when you put it in a nicer pot. So you can dress your plants up and use them in different spots in your house, just depending on what kind of container you put them in. Now, one thing that you're going to want to try to avoid is don't think you have to repot your plants before you bring them in. So this one, I did put in a new pot, and the reason I did that is because it was grown in one of these fiber pots. These pots are designed to break down over time, and you can see the pot was starting to deteriorate on the inside. So I had to repot this one. So I just went up a little pot size, just slightly bigger. You don't want to go up and make a drastically bigger pot, because then chances are you'll overwater the plant. So I put in this new pot. I'm going to clean this off to make sure it's nice and clean, and then I'm not bringing any dirt, debris, or insects in with me. And I'm going to put in a nice pot. This is also the time of year, though, that don't be afraid to trim your plants back a little bit. If they've got some wild hairs on them and some stuff you're not quite sure of, just give them a little haircut. That'll grow back. This is a pilea, and it'll grow very fast. It's a great indoor plant. That's the other thing too. You do have to make the decision. There are some things you want to save over and some things you don't. Annuals that you bought just for the summertime are better off if you just replace them next year. Another thing I do every year is I take all the plants from inside my house and put them outside. So that includes all of my cactus. So when you're talking about cacti, I like to grow them in clay pots. I think they do really well grown in clay pots. And these especially, you don't want to repot this time of year. Even though this plant looks big and it could use a bigger pot, it'll be perfectly content in this pot for the winter time. Now, you want to look and take off anything that's yellow or aged like that, and really look these over. A lot of the times they could have insects hiding inside of them, things like that. If you need to, and if the plant is strong enough, you could even take a shut off and give a little spray in here and just rinse over this whole plant to make sure it's nice and clean. Now, the only downside to clay is it does get dirty in the season. So you want to make sure you give it a good wipe and thoroughly clean the clay pot as much as you can before you bring it inside. Now, as much as I love clay, there is a downside to it, that this is a porous material. So if you don't use a saucer with clay, it will leave marks on woodwork. So you always want to make sure that you're using a saucer when you have a clay pot. And it can be a nice metal saucer, like this happens to be copper. it can be a nice plastic saucer, work just fine. But if you're going to use clay, there are clay saucers out there, just make sure the saucer is glazed. So you can see how shiny this is. That means it's been glazed and it's waterproof. If not, it looks like this, and it will be porous. When it gets wet, it'll change color, like that does. And that way you know that this side will protect your furniture from water getting on them. So, also this time of year, there are certain plants that may have gotten too big that you want to save over. So, I love Coleus plants. I think they're great, but you can see how huge this Coleus got. So what I do in that time of year is I take cuttings. So to take a cutting off your Coleus, you want to just take a nice long piece. You want to strip the foliage off of it, give it a nice clean stem, and put it in a clear jar. So I save a lot of Coleus over this way. Also, you can do it with Tradescantia and certain other plants that root really well. And if you put them in a nice mason jar like this, where sunlight can get to their stems, they'll root in no time, and then you can leave them in there for sometimes a month or more, and then you can pot them up. Occasionally, there are other plants that when it comes to taking them inside, they're just too big or you don't want to put them inside. So I love this Brugmansia. I've had it for about 10 years, and I'm going to show you the way that I bring it in every year, is that I cut it back severely. So I cut it back like that on all of these stems. You can see how big the trunk is here, and it gets cut back, covered over, and put in my garage. Other plants like these oxalis will go dormant, so you don't even have to worry about watering them or anything. You just need to bring them inside to a protected area and make sure they don't freeze, and they'll go dormant on their own. So I hope you found this helpful for bringing your plants inside for the winter time, and I hope to see you around the gardens. Thank you.